Welcome to the Real Talk with Pam podcast, where authenticity meets conversations, where we turn women's lived experiences into shared and learning experiences. I'm your host, Pamela Igbo, and on this episode of Real Talk with Pam, I'll be joined by Funke Karim to talk through the fascinating life she's had and talk about her faith, family, and career. She's an entrepreneur and a philanthropist. She has a degree in banking and finance from Cardiff University. She's also a committed Christian. She is the founding partner for Project Halo, founded in 2016, and her foundation is soon launching an initiative to support Nigerian teachers. She's been married for 27 years to her husband, Kola, and they share 3 wonderful children. Hi, Funke. Welcome to Real Talk with Pam.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
So, first thing is, I think you've had a very blessed life. An amazingly blessed life. But the thing I admire about you most is you're actually really down to earth.
Oh, wow.
And so when you reminisce about your life, what are the values that have shaped you? Because a lot of people in your position would maybe be different, but I find you really down to earth. So what are those values that have shaped you, given that the life you have now?
Thank you. That's indeed high praise. For me, growing up with my background and my parents, always that thing of fear God, and it just encapsulates everything. So we're talking about how you behave, how you treat people, the values that you hold. What is dear to you is not about the materialistic things, the substance, integrity. You know, we grew up in my home and it was, you got into trouble not because of when you did something wrong, but when you lied about it.
Right.
So those kind of things. And me generally, the other thing is mind your business. If your name is not involved, you don't get involved.
Right.
Just keep it pushing.
Yes.
So yes, I think for me, those are those things. God at the heart of everything. Every time we have a conversation, my son will say, okay, just wait. Mommy's going to bring Jesus into it. And I say yes, because everything that concerns this life, God is involved.
Absolutely,
Yes.
absolutely. So one of the things that I found out a few years back that you shared with me was your journey of healing. You had cancer. And I'd love for you to please share that with us right now, because I think it will help a lot of women. Can you just tell us share that story? It's a very powerful, moving testimony of your time having cancer and how God healed you from that. If you wouldn't mind sharing that with us.
Yes, I would. Thank you. So turned 40 and found a lump in my left breast. Thought, normal. I've had cysts in my breast before. It's no problem. Everything will be fine. But decided to go and get it checked out. The doctor went through my history, family. Oh, no, I'm sure it's nothing, but let's send you to go and do further tests. So this is where I'm going to advise people. Whenever you go and get results,
right,
you walk into the doctor's office and there's more than one doctor. Know that there's fire on the mountain. So I walked into the doctor's office and there were 2 doctors. So I thought, okay, maybe trainee doctor, normal doctor. But it turned out the other doctor was like a counselor. And they sat down, and then after butchering my name, because obviously it was in England, I said, we're sad to tell you, but your tests have come back and you have cancer and it's stage 4.
Wow.
And of course, fear, panic. I started to cry and I stood up in the room pacing. And then I had what I call the prodigal son moment. I was like, do I not know who I am? And I just stopped talking. And I was like, no, God, I cannot be your child and then go through this. Give me a word now. And right there in that room, I heard God say, this sickness is not unto death.
Amen.
And the number of years you have in front of you are way more than you have behind you. And this sudden, strange peace just came over me. And so I sat down back in the chair and said to the doctor, okay, what's the plan?
Wow.
And they were shocked. So that was it. And then before I knew it, I'd had 2 lumpectomy surgeries. I'd had 9 months of chemotherapy, 12 months of Herceptin. I had 4 rounds of radiotherapy.
Wow.
And to God be the glory. We're now, 2014? So I've been all clear for 13 years. I have a mammogram every year. And by God's grace, that's all behind me. But just to pick one very significant part of my healing was when I was going through chemotherapy, and I went to the hospital, and you do a blood test and they check you to see if your immune system is strong enough to do the treatment. And they came back and they said no, that my levels had fallen from like 22 to 10, and 10 was the absolute lowest that they would accept to do chemotherapy. Now, what was interesting was that my pastor of blessed memory, Pastor Taiwo Dukoya, this was a Friday, he had called me on the Wednesday, and he said to me, he just wanted to see how I was doing, and just to remind me, I can take communion on my own. So I was like, yes, I will start taking communion. So I'd taken communion Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. He dropped the phone, and then he called me right back. And he said, also, I want to remind you, remember, the life of the flesh is in the blood. I was like, okay, thank you. Goodbye. So that was it. And then 2 days later, I go to the hospital. As I'm walking into the hospital, as I place my hand on the front door, the Spirit says to me, Funke, remember, the life of the flesh is in the blood. So when the nurse comes back to me an hour later and says to me, we can't do treatment, you need a blood transfusion, I already knew that God had spoken.
Right.
So I said, okay, you say 10 is the lowest. Let's do the chemo for today. And then when I come back in 2 weeks, we can check and then take it from there. And she was like, you're just wasting time. It's inevitable. You're going to need a blood transfusion. I'm like, okay, you say your own. Just do what we need to do now. And to God be the glory for the next. And this was only my second round of chemotherapy. And I had another 10 or 12 rounds left. My level stayed at 10 and did not get any lower. So I never had the blood transfusion.
That's amazing.
And so after a while, they used to call me the Wonder Girl in the clinic. So yes,
amazing.
God's hand was truly with me all through.
Amazing. So what would you say to women who are going through cancer? What advice would you give them in terms of how to manage it, the support around them? I remember losing a friend in 29. You know her, Yetunde.
Yes.
She died of cancer, and I remember she wasn't very open about her illness, and many people didn't know she had it until after she passed. And I think that sometimes a lot of women, we sort of keep things, we're secretive, when I find that there is power in prayer, there is power in support. And so what would you say to women who are going through not just cancer, any type of illness? What would you say to them in terms of support?
I think the first thing is just general health. You need to have an annual checkup. Because if I hadn't, okay, yes, there was a lump, but at some point I probably would have had a mammogram.
Right.
But if we're doing all the checks that we need to, then whatever we find, by God's grace, it'll be found early, and then there will be a treatment that will hopefully cure it. So that's one, check your health. Two, I know it's very cultural to keep things secret. And I'm not saying, take a newspaper advert and announce your private life, but surely you'll have core family, core friends. Tell them, let them support you.
Yes.
Just that support of somebody sending your WhatsApp message, I'm thinking of you, might just be the right thing you need at a time when you're down. And specifically where cancer is concerned, don't cut and paste somebody else's treatment, because every single diagnosis is different. I met a friend in the clinic where I was being treated. She also had breast cancer, but her treatment was completely different to mine. So don't think because this person did this, that's the route I need to take. And with all medical things, always have at least another opinion. Get somebody else to look at your case, give advice, and then if you see that there's agreement in what they're saying, and of course prayer, pray every step of the way. pray for the doctors that will treat you, pray for the things that will be used to you, and then just surround yourself with things that make you happy.
Yeah.
Because once you're mentally and emotionally alert and happy, that even just helps your body with healing too.
That's very true.
Yeah.
That's very true. Amazing. Thanks for sharing that powerful testimony. So you're a great advocate for women. You support women a lot. I'm a recipient of that. I remember when I was sick in 2020 and 21, you would call me and pray with me every week. We had a time of praying every week, which was fantastic. So I'm a little jealous because I see you have this group called Gangster Women,
Gangster Mamas.
And I think that I need to be part of that.
We welcome you with open arms.
But I don't know if I can afford you because I see where you go, all the places. But how has that group been instrumental for you as a support system? Because I think that, living in Nigeria, it can be quite, I don't know about you, but I find it can be quite a fake, some of it can be quite a fake society. And I think that we all put up a front, or women, we try to compete rather than actually support one another. So when I see you guys, I'm always like, yeah, that's so great. I'd love to be part of that.
Okay, so first of all, there are 5 of us, and the 4 of us have actually known each other since we were 17, 18. I went to university with 2 of them, the twins, as they're known. And Bimbo, the other lady, we knew her at that time as well. So there's history, but they're not because of length of time means you have a good relationship. But we are actually people who, over the years, we've proven that we can trust each other, we can be there for each other. And then so the other person in the group is like a new friend. We've known her for just 10 years, but she's come in and we've seen that she flows with what we believe. We're all Christians, so we actually do Bible study together.
Fantastic.
So we just don't do the fun things. We do Bible study together, we pray together, we go on holiday together, we meet up. And now we've started these things called secret events where one person plans what we're going to do, doesn't tell the others, and then we just arrive and then find out what it is. So yeah, we just try and do things that not necessarily involves money, but just that camaraderie and support system. And, when there's an SOS, that at least you have one of these other 4 people that you can reach out to and speak to in time of need. So yeah, that's what we're about. Yeah.
Amazing. I love what you said about, you share the same values. I belong to a group called the High Net Worth Women.
Okay.
I'm sorry. High network, not net worth.
That's a prophecy.
Yes, I receive it. But just the support, because we're women who, we share the same values. And it always helps to have, rather than wanting to be part of the society group, but find people who you share the same values with, that can support you, that can be there for you, that can tell you the truth when you need to be told the truth. So thank you for that. Welcome back to Real Talk with Pam, here where authenticity meets conversation. We've been in conversation with Funke Karim, so we've had a fantastic chat so far, and we're just going to continue right now. So Funke, tell me, in terms of your mom with 3 kids, you have 2 girls, in terms of some of the unhealthy societal norms that we see, particularly in the Nigerian context, how have you been able to help your girls through that in changing those narratives?
Well, I hope I've been able to help them. I think they'll be the judge of that. But I think for me, the first thing, what I find really peculiar about Nigeria is how we raise boys and we raise girls. No, we're raising children.
That's right.
And both boys and girls should have discipline. They should have good moral values. They shouldn't be sleeping around, but we tend to have, if it's a boy and he's doing X, Y, Z, it's okay. But if a girl does it, then there's a problem. And I can't believe that in 2024, we're talking about things like boys or girls cooking.
Right.
The only person who needs to learn how to cook is somebody who is hungry and eats.
That's
If
right.
you don't eat food, then don't learn to cook. But if you
Right.
know that you're going to be hungry and you're going to eat, then you need to learn to cook. So I think it's just knowing and deliberately raising children the same in a household, and not making it that the girls cook for the boys. It's not that they shouldn't, but the boys too can sometimes cook for the girls, and the boys don't sit down while the girls are cleaning. Everybody should learn how to look after a house, how to cook. The girls too should be told, you're going to go out there, you're going to build something for yourself. So I think not having that gender inequality in
That's right.
training and discipline is the
Yes.
thing that I hope I've done, raising my 2 daughters and son.
Sons. And I think even when you talked about, I think one of the norms here is, people might not like it, what I'm about to say, but it's okay for a guy to have, who's married to have mistresses,
Yes,
and
yes.
that's okay, and like that's normal here. But if it's a woman doing the same thing, it's sort of, oh, she sleeps around.
Yes.
And what you said about bringing up the boys to have the same values as you would have the girls is really, really important.
Yes.
And I think that starts at home.
Yes.
Definitely. So thank you for that. So tell me, now we're in our 50s, menopausal and all, but looking fly, I must say. How, when you think about your 30s and 40s, how do you feel now that you're in your 50s rather than in your 30s? What are some of the things that you feel like, right, I love about being 50 something?
Well, I think first of all, when you're like in your 20s and 30s, have an idea of things that you want to do. But usually it's either you don't have time, like for me, someone who got married at 26. So I was either raising my children, being a wife and doing all those things. So you don't have time for that, or you don't have the money, you don't have the financial backing to do it. But I think now that I'm in my 50s and with my youngest going into uni, hopefully next year, I have a bit more time and a bit more money. So I'm able to explore, all the things that I want to do and just do it confidently as well. I don't feel that need, well, I don't know why I'm trying to pretend, but I've never been,
No,
I've
you've
never
never been.
been somebody who had problems saying no. In
Right.
fact, maybe now I'm even trying to say yes more often. But yeah, just, knowing what I want, and now I have the time and the opportunity to be able to, get it done.
Do you also find, like, in your 50s, certainly for me, I don't really care much about what people think about me.
Well.
I'm like, this is who I am. Like it or, frankly, lump it.
I think for me, I'm working backwards. I think I was always like that.
Right.
So now I think with age, I'm trying to temper myself. Like I say, even make what I say a bit seasoned with salt. So I'm trying to be a bit more palatable.
Right.
Whereas before it was like hurricane, take it, leave it. So now I'm trying to be a bit more gentle.
Gentle.
Yeah.
I've seen the change. I can testify to
Oh,
that.
perfect.
So we know that you are a God-loving woman, and so what is your favorite character in the Bible and why?
Oh, wow. Well, most people know that I am fond of all what they call the bad girls in the Bible.
I wonder why.
Exactly. But I think in this season, with maturity, as the Americans would say, it's a character that to me existed in the Old Testament and then has showed up in the New Testament.
Okay.
In the Old Testament, to me, she's Pharaoh's daughter,
Okay.
who pulls Moses out
All right.
of the River Nile. And in the New Testament, to me, she's the woman at the well, the Samaritan woman.
Is she the same woman?
To me, I mean, I believe so.
Oh, wow.
Even if you look at the juxtaposition, the locations of how they encounter their two deliverers.
Okay.
The Pharaoh's daughter encounters the deliverer Moses as a baby. The Samaritan woman encounters the deliverer Jesus as the Son of God. They're both river, well, water, very instrumental. But for me, the Samaritan woman is just so vivid when I read that story. In fact, if I was a director, I could make it into a screenplay. I know what she looks like. I know her shape. She's elegant. She's tall. She has good carriage. She's poised. You know, she goes down to the well in the hot sun because, you know, I'm not going to even give those other women who are now going to be talking behind my back any chance, you know. And she meets this man that she doesn't know who he is at the beginning at the well. And he says, can I have water? And she's like, but you're a Jew. I'm a Samaritan. You guys don't deal with us. So what it is, she's saucy. She's not even trying to be humble and shy that, the mighty Jewish man is talking to me. You know, she gives it right back to him. And then she's quick. The minute she realizes this is no mere man, she's smart. She's heard about the Messiah because she quotes it. They say someone is coming. So she knows she's been waiting, even though she's not part of the Jewish culture. She's been waiting for this promise. And then what I love most is at the end, she goes back and she says, I met a man who's told me everything. She's exaggerating. He only said one thing. You know, the man that you live with is not your husband. But it's that one thing that's her core. So she knows that for someone to be able to pick that thing that is dear to her, he must know every single thing. And she becomes a great evangelist. And she manages to bring all those people and share Jesus with them. So for now, she's my favorite.
She's your favorite. Fantastic. I think my favorite is, it's actually a man, it's not a woman. It's the story of Joseph. Yeah. How he went from prison to palace. We know the story, but the fact that, you know, the Bible says that Joseph had success in whatever he did. So when he was with Potiphar, he was able to, you know, be a very hardworking person, and he worked hard and he was humble. And when he was in prison, you know, the prison guard made him the leader of all the prisoners there. And then he became, you know, when he was in the palace, he had the wisdom and he had the mind to be the best he could be there. So that's my favorite character. And I always pray every day, give me the wisdom of Joseph and give me the success that Joseph had. So that's my favorite character for now as well.
It's interesting that you should talk about Joseph, actually, because just the other day I was thinking, you know, I won't lie, Joseph is a bit like how they treat men and women now, because nobody actually ever talks about the fact that initially Joseph, when he said, I see the sun and the moon and whatever bowing down, that he got that wrong. Because his mom had died by the time. So nobody ever said, false prophet. But if it had been a woman, they would have picked up on that. And then at the end of the story, I always think, did Joseph die as an Israelite? Or had he become Egyptian? You know, so seeing as you're a lover of Joseph, I'll leave you to research.
I'll research that. Only you would think about that, Funke, seriously. But I will come back to you on that. Right. So one of the things that people may not know about you is that you are a philanthropist. You're an entrepreneur. Your family have this foundation called Project Halo. So can you tell us a little bit about that to round this off, and also what is next for Funke?
Okay.
Yes.
So, I mean, you cannot be a Nigerian, whoever you are, and not be a philanthropist in any way. Even if it's the person that you go to the office every day and you have to give them 50 naira. You know, we are built for that. But I just felt about 10 years ago, God was saying, you need to consolidate and make this formal. And me, I don't like formal things, so I kind of resisted. And after a while, it was like, okay, now you're straying into disobedience. So we started a family foundation, and no, we did not call it Kola and Funke Karim Foundation. It's called Project Halo, and Halo stands for Help and Aid for the Less Opportuned. We're actually registered in Nigeria, but of course, you know, I live in the UK, so we're also registered there, and our very first and main project started there. So what we do is that we aid African and Caribbean students who go mainly to Oxbridge, but also other Russell universities. We support them financially. Because one of the things that we found was that there were all these black students who coming from low-income families who could get into these top universities, but they would get there and they wouldn't prosper.
Right.
Because unlike the other children who had their own parents or families supporting them, they would have to go and get jobs and work whilst they were at uni.
Right.
So their grades would fail, etc. So we thought, okay, where can we step in and aid and help them? So we've been doing this now for a few years. And by my last count, I think we've had like nearly 20 students. At the moment, we only have, most of them have graduated. So we just have 2 who we took on this September. They're actually twins as well. So that's what we're doing at the moment. Yes.
Right. And so what's next for you? I know you have a project as
Yes.
well
So for Nigeria, we're now coming to Nigeria, and we're looking in the UK, we're targeting the children and the students directly. But in Nigeria, we now want to look at the teachers, because I always have this thing in my mind that until a child can go to school and the teacher there, I mean, they don't have to speak exactly like the parent, but until the teachers had the same kind of exposure and understanding as the parent of the child they're teaching, it's not going to work. So we're now looking to see how we can bring training initiatives all around Nigeria to help teachers, build up and be able to relate, not just with the academia side of things, but also the other extracurricular things that they will need to teach and discuss with their students. But then also I'm involved with a group, they're called Justice Girls.
Okay.
It's run by pastors from a certain church, but it's global, and so it's not tied specifically to a church. And recently we just crowdfunded a series, and it's called the Justice Girls series, and it's on YouTube. We're in season 3. Please watch, subscribe, Justice Girls series, because I just got tired of, I'm a Christian woman, I want to watch good content, and I don't want to have my hand forwarding through sex scenes, through homosexual scenes, through all kinds of things that I don't want to see. But I want to watch interesting things about real life, how people behave. So this pastor came up and they've written a screenplay, and even the people who work on the screenplay have shows on Netflix. So this is in every way, it is real high quality. The dialogue, the scenery, the costuming, I mean, it's just fun. And so when we watch each episode, there's a lot of discussions, you know how it is about. So it's based around 4 young women who live together, share a flat, and their different lives, their romantic lives, their work lives, their family lives. So it's very interesting. So just hoping to see that really catch on and even come onto the international scene. Yes.
Sure. So thank you so much, Funke. It's been fantastic. I hope you enjoyed being on Real Talk with Pam, and hopefully we'll have you on again to talk about some more real life issues.
Thank you very much. I really enjoyed it. Thank you. And good luck with the rest of the show.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much for tuning in to this episode of Real Talk with Pam. We believe that from sharing our experiences, another woman might see herself in you and be inspired or reminded that they are not alone. A shout out to every woman out there breaking barriers daily and staying true to herself. Remember, here on Real Talk with Pam, authenticity meets conversation. Till next time, keep being authentic. I am Pamela Igbo.